Hello and welcome to the This Works For Me Virtual Summit. I'm your host, Fayette Watson. I am the director of the Faculty Development Center at Murray State University. If you are looking for free technologies that you may use to support teaching and learning, you are in the right place because our guest today, Dr. Michael Dailey, will be providing us with some practical strategies to do that. Dr. Dailey, welcome.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
You're welcome. Could you tell us a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, and what you do?
Absolutely, absolutely. I am Michael Dailey. I grew up in Georgetown, Kentucky. I'm a graduate of Kentucky State University and the Ohio State University in Columbus, and then finished my PhD in instructional design in 2015. I had 32 years, wonderful years actually, experience in P-12 education, some of which was involved in instructional technology, federal programming, and then I returned back to Fayette County Public School where I started my professional career to finish out, and I worked in gifted and talented services, English learners, migrant education, and world languages. It was an exciting career. Retired from public education, and then my alma mater, Kentucky State, called me back and said, hey, we want you to do some consulting work with us. And so I did. And then a position opened up in the Office of Distance Education. So I now serve as the director of distance education for Kentucky State University. And we have some exciting new things coming and a number of online programs to offer. So I've had, as I said, a beautiful ride for my career, but I'm back at home with the institution that gave me my start. And hopefully that I can, as the young people say now, pay it forward to them so that they can have a bright and pathway as I have enjoyed.
Thank you for sharing just a little peek of who you are. And we're so we're so pleased to have you today to share with us. In fact, the title of our conversation is using free technology tools to support teaching and learning. How did you become interested in using these technologies?
Oh, wow, it's a great question. I think it all started with when I entered instructional technology. It was in the days where email was just introduced to public education. So I'm kind of telling a little bit about my age. But we soon learned that once email was available to us, we could communicate with anybody and everybody. And it was funny to see colleagues of mine, including myself, press a button and then go down the hall to see if it actually arrived. So that tells you the beginning of technology. But we soon learned that it was also very expensive to have the equipment, the tools, the software, just to communicate. And then right away we wanted to talk about, or wanted to engage in, how do we integrate technology in our instruction, in our teaching and learning? It was, again, more and more expensive. If you want to be able to do this, you buy this product. If you want to have students respond, you buy this product. So we started putting our heads together and started looking around, what are some free resources or techniques or tools that you can use that will allow the educator to stay within their comfort zone or with their strengths of teaching and learning and accentuate what they're doing with their students. And over the years, we found a variety of free tools, from what used to be called shareware, which was kind of introductory software, to present, which is a lot of companies now are offering things free. I know it's unfortunate we've gone through a pandemic, and we're still going through that pandemic, and I hope the listeners, their families and friends are doing well and they're staying safe. But during that time, there were some announcements by companies to offer free resources to both K-12 educators and higher education educators that would allow them to engage a student, especially considering the majority of us, if not, I'd say well above 80 to 90% of us, have been forced to move online and operate in an environment that is unknown for those who have never done it. So having free resources to help you stay in your comfort zone and accentuate those strengths is necessity. So again, it reassured that, what I was focusing on could do. And I needed to try it at home first. So how does it work at Kentucky State University? And I wanted to make sure that if you try it at home and they like it, then you can tell others,
Yeah. Yeah, it's what works for you. So could you share some of those technologies with us?
Sure, sure. I'll begin with something you may already have. I believe from Faith, you said your university is a Google
Yep.
Suite users. They're pretty strong in Google, so we'll start with that one. When I was in the P12 education environment, Google Classroom is the thing, and it still is. Many of the students that come to the university, you probably know, some will even come with their own Chromebook because that's the tools they were using in their schools, and they're very familiar with Google Classroom. Um, Being a person that was in education, you know, the education students need that tool because it is so easy to use. But I just want to pull out one of the suite items today, and introduce you to two features and a plugin, or I believe Google calls it an extension, that you can use to enhance student engagement in your classroom, to um, market active participation. And I'll go back to the old definition of communication. The old definition of communication, there's a sender and a receiver. And when communication happens, both are participating, the sender and the receiver. So when you're doing a presentation, or you're doing a lecture, or you're providing or facilitating learning in the classroom, the key is, do you know where the students are? Are they with you? Are they following you? So I'm going to give you a little bit, just a snippet of something in Google Slides that you may not know is there. And if you do, wonderful, please share it with other people, because holding on to knowledge doesn't help build capacity. So we want you to share your knowledge. The other thing is, we're going to look at accessibility first, and then we're going to move into interactive tools that are, again, free to you. So if you don't mind, from Faith, I'm going to share my screen. Is that okay?
Yeah, go ahead.
Great, great. This is a presentation I did in 2019. Has nothing to do with teaching and learning, but I had to get started in distance education, and I did it in Google Slides. And so I wanted to use that one since that was the one I was familiar with.
Yeah.
And let me see here if I can find it. There we go. All right.
It's coming up.
So,
Yeah, I
all
can.
right, so you see my screen. We're not in presenter mode, and that's on purpose. So this is the title slide. I had to do a presentation for the provost and others on the academic technology planning session. So tell them a little bit about what we were going to do and what we were going to provide for them. And in this session, I introduced one of the tools that you're going to hear about today. But as I said, first, we're going to deal with accessibility. There are students in our universities that may need additional supports to engage in the learning process. So one of the things that has been introduced in Google Slides is automated captioning. And I thought, how cool is that? Does it really work? You know? And so I would say, you know, as a disclaimer, it's probably around an 80% accuracy. But in Google Slides, you will notice at the very beginning that you're on your title slide, or the beginning slide, or your opening slide. In the upper right-hand corner, you'll see this present option. I'm sure you've seen this before. It takes you into presentation mode, and then you just click to move to the next slide. But if you ever click on the arrow here that you may now see in Google Slide, you actually have two options. One option is presenter view, and it kind of gives you the little window that says, hey, what's the next slide coming up, right? So it gives you a heads up so that you as the presenter know what's coming. The other option is obviously present from the beginning. So it helps you make sure you start from your title slide, just in case you've been looking at your slide, getting ready for your presentation, and you didn't go back to the first slide. So I'm going to choose right now just present from the beginning, because that's the simple choice that many of you probably already used. So when it says print from the beginning, before we start our presentation, I want you to notice the toolbar at the very bottom. I don't know if it shows up on there, but there's a toolbar that will pop up.
Yes,
And
I'm seeing it.
oh, great. That toolbar has captions under it. If you select captions, I want you to watch the screen. You notice that the screen creates a small bar around the bottom and sides. It allows the automated captioning that you should be seeing on your screen to take place. So as you're presenting, now you're providing closed captioning to your audience.
Wow.
I thought this is one of the most exciting tools that has been added. And don't worry, if you're not a Google fan, guess what? This tool is also available in Microsoft PowerPoint. But that was so simple, and it's a free tool, and it makes your content automatically accessible. So we're just going to click on the next slide. And even regardless of what's on the content, if I was presenting about the introduction to technology at Kentucky State University, I would talk about the purpose of planning, the Office of Distance Education and its purpose and goals, the introduction of the facilitator, who would be me, what we're using and how we're going to use Blackboard, and then I would ask for feedback. So that would be the agenda that we would have for our meeting. I'm going to stop our presentation for a moment and just let you think about what you saw there. Something so simple as I select present and I choose closed captioning, and now I've made my presentations more accessible. Now, you might have noticed there was a change in the cadence of my voice. You have to practice this before you release it, because some of us speak a lot faster than others, and the captioning may not keep up with you. So you want to slow down just a bit. It also helps your audience listen. You're providing additional visual, your words becoming a part of the interactivity, visual interactivity with the audience. Now, again, that's one-way communication. That is you interacting with your students in a different way and making your content more accessible. That's step one. Step two is even more exciting, and it has two aspects. Google Slides has really stepped up their game, and Google has always been really big on extensions. When I was at Fayette County Public Schools, we actually used the Google Suite to organize our professional learning events, so that we use Google Forms, Google Docs, and Google Slides so that people could register for events and come to professional learning. We had certificates made for them. They got an automated agenda book when they selected. I mean, it's a great tool if you wanted to explore. And again, all of this was free. So I'm going to share my screen again, go back to the same presentation we were viewing, and I'm going to talk about a tool that is an extension. In this particular tool, I want you to notice at the very top, it is a tool you'll have to download. This is called Poll Everywhere, and it's been around for quite a while, so it's actually quite a proven tool. And you may have even attended a conference where they asked you to pull out your cell phone and text your response to this particular code or number. And that's how they do it. And it is a wonderful tool. I've been in conferences where 200 or 300 people will be sitting in an auditorium or maybe a larger group, and they've asked them their thoughts or their ideas, and the audience immediately interacts with this particular tool, Poll Everywhere, in the middle of the presentation, and you get to see the live results. Now, I don't have a live audience other than my dear friend Firm Faith here, but I want to show you how easy it is to use this tool. So at the very top of the screen, across the menu bar, or ribbon if you are using PowerPoint, we see the tab Poll Everywhere. Mm-hmm. Now, and when you select that tab, you will notice you can use a new poll, or you can insert one you've already created. And then there's some other choices here as well. We're going to select New Activity. Mm-hmm. And in the new activity, just to let you know, there are a variety of things you can choose from. You can choose a blank activity. That means you can create the questions on your own. These are the things you want to create, you want to share. So imagine you're in the classroom, regardless if you're teaching online or you're teaching face-to-face, and you have this wonderful tool available to you. You want to prepare your questions. And one of the great interactions that you have when you're presenting to a group of students or you're facilitating learning is to do that check for understanding along the way. So along the way, you're going to say, you've presented maybe a few concepts. You can say, okay, I'm going to do a quick check for understanding. And you pop up this little poll, questions associated with what you just presented. And that will give you a formative assessment on, are the students following me? Are they getting this content? And right away, you can make some adjustments and say, hey, I want to go back and I want to explain this concept even further. So I think this tool, I know this tool will allow you to do that. And I've used this tool before, and it works extremely well. The students like it because they get to whip out their phone. You know, I tease my daughters about their phone being an appendage of their hand, and they use it right away, quickly and easily. So you can choose from blank, as I said, blank activities, and there are different ways to display. A cloud, word cloud is a great way to see the thinking of a group of students if you ask them to define a concept or to express something based on what they've just watched or viewed. Maybe it's a video that you showed and you want to see what the feelings are about that. Or maybe they're assessing a particular situation. They've watched a case if you're in criminal justice, and they've watched it up to a certain point, and you want to see a word cloud. What are you thinking about this case? What do you think is happening? It's a great way to get those reactions. So you can select one of these, but you also have other choices here. Small discussions. Here are some examples of small discussions where you would go in and you're looking at project feedback, maybe the meeting agenda if you want to build consensus in your team, idea development. You've presented these ideas, now you get to rank them. Or other things like what they call the sprint perspective, and you're giving feedback on the last cycle or to improve the efficiency of some type of process or protocol. You have large gatherings, again, as I mentioned before in conferences. You have interesting visuals, how your content will be displayed, you know, donut charts and so forth. So it really gives you, and then some of my favorites is to really capture the attention of your students or your audience with icebreakers. Ask them a question right up front, get their feedback right up front. It sets the tone for how you're going to teach. It sets the tone for how the students are going to learn, sets the tone for your audience if you're presenting. So at the moment, I'm going to cancel this because I want to reference our time here. I've already chosen, done this before, so I actually clicked on the poll everywhere. I selected a particular question I wanted, and I'm going to select that question. Right away, you see it's trying to load. It says we haven't received any responses yet, and that's because we really haven't started. So we want to insert that slide in our presentation, and it let me know that it was successful, and then it generated this slide. Now, you can't see anything on the slide now, but when I get to this, and I'm going to go one slide before it, I'm going to go into present mode. Remember our present mode, right? We're going to go and do present from the beginning. And it starts from the beginning, and I didn't put closed captioning in at this time, so I'm going to let that feature go. I'm just going to get to the point where I'm ready for my poll, and then it automatically adds to that slide, as you can see at the top of the screen. To respond, you can go to pollev.com and / it says Michael D and then 124, Michael D Day, didn't have my full last name there, 124, and it's ready for responses. And then you just wait for someone to respond, and there's the question, in one word defined e-learning. And you can talk about this, and as the students respond, it will appear on the screen in real time. And so it's really exciting to watch, really exciting to watch. I'm going to back up and show you one last feature in Google Slides. One last feature. So we know we can integrate poll everywhere. You've seen how we can do closed captioning on the fly. But what if I don't want to download an extension? What if that's just too techy for me? I want something very simple, something very quick, something that my students can automatically jump into. Okay, well, let's try that. We're going to go back over here to the present button again. Boy, he really likes this present button, right? So we'll go back to this present button, and we're going to click on presenter view this time.
Okay.
When I click on presenter view, a small window opens up, and Friend Faith, I'm not sure you can see that small window.
I can.
Okay, great, fantastic. You can see that small window. You'll notice you have speaker's notes here. So if you have put any notes at the bottom of your slides, this is where your speaker's notes will appear. But you have one other option. This is called audience tools. When you click on audience tool, we want to make sure that our audience can ask questions. So if you want your students to kind of ask questions as they go along, we can say start new. And now we've turned on audience participation activities. And what you see when we get ready to start our presentation, and I'm going to move this slide out, this little thing out of the way, what you see is at the top, it says, if you have questions, go to this particular website with your phone or whatever. And as I present, the questions will pop up on this little window from your audience. So you can actually interact with your audience as you go along. And what you would do is set this up at the very beginning and say, hey, guys, we have a lot to cover today, but I want to make sure you have the opportunity to ask questions. We're all online, and I want to make sure that I see and hear your questions. So I'm going to use this tool, and you can ask them to practice on that first slide. Say, answer the following question, and or ask a question about what you hope to learn, or a statement of what you hope to learn. and the students can type, and you will see it appear there. See, there we go. It says, how are you today? That came from Firm Faith. Thank you very much. Now, and then you can actually respond to this, thumbs up, thumbs down. And I could present the question. So now I've presented the question, how are you today? And that's the question that was out there. So this is the question. So what you're doing is you're honoring the participation of one student and sharing their question with the entire audience. And that's really nice because there are other people who may not be comfortable asking questions. And so when I present that question, it actually shares that question and who it came from with the audience. You may want to tell the student up front, hey, I'm going to share the question because we want to make sure we're building a community of learners in our process. So this is another way Google Slides can help you build student engagement activities. I'm going to stop sharing at this time and let you all and myself take a little break. But I thought it's a pretty cool way of engaging your students. And guess what? It's free. It is free.
So how would one integrate that app into the Google Slides for it to work? If one wanted to do the add-on that you spoke about earlier, how would they add that to their Google Slide?
Great question. Great question.
For the poll everywhere.
For the poll everywhere? Okay. Mm-hmm. I'm going to try to, I want to add another tab to my screen here. And we're going to go to Google and we're going to type in poll everywhere in Google Slides. And then when you go to the poll everywhere in Google Slides, that main page, it says add Chrome extension.
Right.
You click on add Chrome extension, and I've already added it, so it's gonna tell me to remove it, but it will say add. It will install, and you'll see it pop up here on the right-hand side. I have a lot of extensions, so you're not gonna see mine. I guess I would click on that extension, you could see it, but it will add it up here on the right-hand side. And then once you finish that, the next time you open Google Slides, you will see it here. It will just pop up as an additional tab in your Google Slides. It's free. Now, just so I can show you it's free, there's an overview of Google Slides. There's some wonderful videos about it, but I think they have a tab here on pricing, I think. Let me go back to the home here. Previous.
And you may share that link in the resources that we will mention later on in the video so that people can be able to find that link. Mm-hmm.
Here's the pricing page.
Yeah.
Intro plan. Mm-hmm. Maximum of 25 of the audience size. You have to know that up front if you're doing this. So if this is an auditorium of 500 people, this is probably not the tool you want to use if you want to use the free version. But if you want to upgrade, then it tells you how much you can upgrade for. So when you go to those large conferences, they're paying money to use the tool.
Right.
But in your classroom, say you have 50 kids in your classroom,
yeah.
Or you're above that 25 max, then now's a good time to group your students into small groups.
Yeah.
In your class, and when you pose questions that they would have to respond to,
yeah.
allow that collegial exchange to take place, and then have someone in that group respond, so you can keep your count below 25. So that's not a cheating move, but yes, it is. It's a way to manage your resources, because again, these are free opportunities for you. So that's the pricing.
Yeah.
Are there any other questions about the Google Slides?
No, I'm wondering, do you have any other technology that you'd like to share in this interview?
Sure. I did mention PowerPoint, and I won't show you PowerPoint because it's the same kind of thing. Mm-hmm. But I want to, you're probably familiar with Kahoot. If you're not familiar with Kahoot, mm-hmm. It is another tool, another free tool for educators. You go to kahoot.com, you register for your account, and then it has a bunch of pre-made surveys or polls or questions that you can use, but you can create your own. And I've used this tool. One of the first professional learning opportunities I had at Kentucky State University was a kind of faculty rounds. And so they had this training where you had 2 days worth of training. And I was on just one day, and I had about 4 sessions with faculty. And I said, I want to show you a quick free tool. And the way I introduced it was, how many of you remember the university clickers? and they were talking about, yeah, the student response systems. Everybody had a little remote. You pointed it at the screen, and off they went. You asked questions, and universities would tell you we overused them, we underused them, or they were extremely expensive. And I said, what if I could show you a similar tool and it was free? And of course, you know, what I'm looking for is that lean forward look from the faculty. Yes, I want free, and I want it to be just as effective. So I introduced Kahoot, and I'll just share just a brief Kahoot screen with you. And it worked out very well. But this one is actually on, it's a duplicate that I created. I forgot to take off the title duplicate, but it's Online Learning Myths and Facts. And it's a game format. And as you know, in distance education, gaming is actually something that's a technique or a protocol that you can use for engagement. You can set up the questions and build it the way you want to. In this particular one, even though I duplicated, I could go back and change the questions to suit my particular needs. If you noticed in this one, on question number 4 here, I added KSU in here to make sure it was there. But all I have to do is hit play. And once I hit play, if I'm in a teaching environment, in a classroom, I hit teach. Now, you can use this regardless if you're online or not in a teaching environment. If I wanted to assign it to someone and do it self-paced, that means it's asynchronously, so those students are going to play the game and they'll do it as a self-paced game, so it's not quite the audience interaction, the collective audience interaction. So I chose teach mode, and the reason is because to watch adults in the adult learning environment be as competitive as your students in gameplay on questions that they should know the answers to is priceless, as the commercial used to say. You know, you would have these different scenes, and they get to that last scene, you know, sharing time with your family, and they'd say priceless. Watching faculty compete to learn is priceless. So once you get there, then you can choose, I can choose team mode. Again, go back to if it's a large group, you want to divide them into teams, or I can choose classic view, which is one-on-one. So everybody is for themselves. I chose classic view. It will play, it will load.
Welcome to Exploring the Universe.
And then
I'm Elijah Wood, chair of the Physical Science and Physical Education Department of Drain Creek Middle School. Dr. Robert Schneider has brought something very interesting in for us to see today.
I have built a device that enables us
to travel through
space.
It gives you results after each question, and the audience gets to see how they're doing compared to their friends. Now, it does give you an opportunity to it does give you an opportunity to, I guess, watch the responses of others or put the names in. So I've had people say that they were Darth Vader. They put all these fictitious names. So you may not know who your students are. Right. So you may want to front load that by saying, can you please put in the right name? Because we want to make sure that you are participating. But if you're okay with them being whoever they're, Batman, Wonder Woman, whoever they want to be, then fine. The point is, are they learning? Are they engaged in the learning process? So that's another very simple and free tool to use, Kahoot.
Wow. These tools are very practical, and the great thing is that they are free. I just want to make sure that you finished sharing your technologies?
I could share one more, I guess.
Okay, great.
And this is more about the faculty. You know, we've been talking about student engagement. We've been talking about how to use these tools in the teaching and learning process. But faculty often have questions, you know, like, what's in it for me? I want something that I can use that's free that will say, record my lecture or capture my lecture. During the pandemic, a company called Loom released a free screen capture tool called Loom. And it is a wonderful free tool. You get this free pro trial for a little while, but then you get to use the free version. And I've used the free version in a variety of ways. And what it does is it's a screen capture. So if you've ever used Screencast-O-Matic, you know that's a paid service. Or if you've used Screencastify, that one's free, but you only get so many minutes of recording time. Or or less, you know. Well, this one, I believe is unlimited. I haven't pushed the limit on it, you know, because we believe in what we call micro lecturing. So, you know, you got 8 to 10 minutes, 8 to 15 minutes of attention time when you're doing lectures, and especially if it's recorded, and it should be followed up by some type of Q&A or formative assessment to make sure, again, are the students with me? So I want to share with you Loom. You can go to loom.com, download it, put in your university email, and it's a free resource to you. You will see that it's very small on the screen because this is the actual tool. After you download it, this is the tool. Here's some things it does. Can you see my mouse moving around? When I press on the mouse, it highlights the area that you're clicking. So if you're doing a demonstration of what you want students to do, say they have to fill out a survey. We did a survey with some faculty in Jefferson County through an implicit bias training, and they had to go out and take the project implicit test. And one of the ways we could have demonstrated, and we didn't use this tool, I didn't know about this tool then, one of the ways we could have demonstrated is actually showing this tool and say, remember to click here, and as soon as you press the mouse button, it highlights the area. So it's a visual recognition of where it is, where the screen is. The other thing is you can choose screen only mode, camera only mode, so it actually shows just a picture of you. It won't show my picture now because I'm using my camera, and my camera's activated with Zoom. Or you can do screen and camera. So whatever I capture, and I'm going to put it on screen and camera and in a minute and show it to you. You can do full screen, or I can select a monitor. So I'm going to select a monitor here, and that monitor is selected. You'll see the microphone is already registering my voice, right?
Yeah.
You will see that that I have a choice of choosing a camera. So if I have a document camera, or if I have another camera that's at a different angle, I can choose that one. And if I start recording, what you won't see, because I had to select another screen. So let me see if I can select the current screen. Let me do that. That way you might be able to see the recording. You start recording. It's ready to record, and it gives you a countdown.
Yeah.
And I would say, good afternoon. Welcome to Technology Talks with Michael Dailey at Kentucky State University. I want to show you a couple of free tools. And at that point, I can say stop sharing with you, and I could hit the stop share button here, I think. And now my tool Loom is done, and it's that quick. And once I ended it, it actually saves the information to the cloud. So you get a free cloud account with it. And it says you can actually use Loom and Gmail. So it actually connects with your Google Suite. So you can send links to your colleagues or links to the students. You can also download this presentation. And I'm going to share one last thing with you.
Okay.
Showing you the screen here. This is what it looks like when it's finished. So it pops up on the screen. You have your count. It does have the ability to trim. So you can actually trim, which means you can edit the video. And I didn't record long enough, so evidently it shows down here that this is like a 1 minute recording. But you can edit the video. You can download it. You can move it to a particular folder, like your Google Drive account. And again, it's very, very simple to use, very easy to use. And I hope teachers find it. I actually didn't introduce this or share this at Kentucky State University in a physical or online environment. I sent an email and I said, hey, take a look at this and watch this video clip. And I had faculty respond to me and say, okay, this is really cool. And they're using it now in their lectures. And then I sent them the best practices on micro lecturing, so that we don't have 45 minutes of video, in our LMS. But that concludes it. What I have to share today. Again, all these are free, and it's up to you to empower others. And I hope you've enjoyed what I shared today. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, these are some very practical technologies that you have shared. And again, the good thing is that they are free. Are there any, if someone would say to you, well, Michael, I'm a little bit hesitant to try and any of these technology, what would you say to them?
Well, yeah, I understand that. I always think there are three kinds of learners, adult learners. I think there are those that want to push the cart to the top of the hill. Those are your explorers. How hard is this going to be? Let's try it. Let's just give it a try. Then there are those that say, you know what? I'm going to wait till the cart gets to the top of the hill, and I'm going to ride that cart down, because then I'll have people to talk to about what was the experience like. And then there are those that are at the bottom of the hill and said, hey, tell me how the ride was. How difficult is this? Is it really worth doing? And that's the way you really want the group to be, because you want the early adopters. You want the people that are going to share, those early adopters are going to share with. And then you want the people that have street cred, as they say, for those people that are waiting around to see what's new. Then they will learn from their others. So if you're wanting to try this, give it a try. Start with something small. I would start with the Google Slides and just use the present view. Don't add an extension, just use the present view, or use the closed captioning and see if it works. And I would try just by presenting to myself. And if it's capturing your voice, you can watch your cadence and you see it appear, you can go, hey, I can do this. And all I have to do now is just share it with others. That's the first step. Then you say, what else can I do with this thing? And then I would add the questioning, and I would, again, do it myself, pull out my phone, see if I can ask a question and then present it. And then I'm now ready to share it with other people. Get a buddy, a colleague, and do the same thing. And then you're building capacity. You're both learning together. You're both figuring out together. And pretty soon you figure out, hey, I didn't have to climb Mount Everest to get this done. This was pretty simple. So give it a start and give it a try.
Great. Are there any resources that you would recommend for our viewers to check out to help them along their journey?
Yeah, I think there's some great resources out there. The Online Learning Consortium is wonderful. They have great tools. There are experts in the field that can share some wonderful ideas with you. There's a lot of research out there. There are standards on pedagogical guidance. And that's what it is. Again, I go back to what I said at the very beginning. We want to keep our faculty in the comfort zone. If I can put additional tools in your tool bag, but I can help you deliver something you already know how to do, and you just have now more tools to do that with, then I'm allowing you to be in your comfort zone while expanding your ability to deliver. And it's about the experience that our students have through you as faculty members that's most important. So that's it. That's the way to go.
Thank you. And viewers, the technologies that Michael mentioned today, I will be sharing a link to them in the video description below. Dr. Dailey was kind enough to just do a quick little summary of each, and you will see that in the video description below. And so I encourage you to check them out. The good thing, again, they are free, and we hope that you will find them useful. Dr. Dailey, in the last minute, would you give our viewers a call to action or an encouragement?
Absolutely. We entered this field for the purpose of sharing with others. At least that's my belief. And the more we can share with others, the better we can build capacity around the learning process. I have not found an educator that just says, hey, I got into this so I can make money, or I got into this so I can do this. I could care less about my students. No, we want to see those bright shining stars get brighter. We want to see those diamonds in the rough shine. We want to see those lumps of coals become diamonds with a little educational pressure. And the sand of time that they have with you is our best asset to replicate, at least in the P12 environment, to replicate people who are like you, or who have the same interests, who have believed the same thing. And you can see them go from a blank page to a book, to through chapters, through volumes, and watch them become who they are. And you can say you contributed to that. It's worth all of this. So if we can pass along just a little nugget, or we can pay it forward, we can watch education continue to lead and develop and grow the leaders of today, tomorrow, and beyond.
Wow. I like that call to action. You're really putting purpose, behind the use of these technology. Thank you very much, Dr. Dailey.
It has been my pleasure.
Viewers, thank you for joining us in this conversation today. We encourage you to check out the resources that were mentioned and share this conversation with others. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode of this virtual summit. See you soon.